Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 381 of the Running for Real podcast, our last episode of the year. It has been a year. Now I'm looking back on this and seeing all that we did in 2023. It's actually quite hard to wrap my head around, to be honest. I've tried to break this down. I spent a few minutes kind of somewhat organizing myself. As you know, I typically don't do this, and it could have easily gone off in many directions and tangents, which it still probably likely will. But I wanted to do a recap episode at the end of 2023 after taking 2 weeks off from the podcast, which we haven't done. I don't know the last time we took 2 weeks off, so if ever. So I'm excited to have taken this time off, and I want to reflect with you on this year. For me, it has been a huge year of highs, but there's also been many lows. And as we go through this episode, I'm going to leave some moments to pause, just as I ask you questions to think about your own running in your own life. So you can hear my recaps, you can hear my updates, but I also want to, at least in my own head, envision that I can hear yours too. And if you want to do a post responding to this, the prompts, I haven't actually written any prompts down, by the way, then feel free to do that. I would love to see it. My social media will be reinstalled actually around when you are listening to this. So I may have a few days to catch up, but I would really love to see. You're also free to send me an email or share about it in Superstars. So let's get to this recap episode. I want to begin by doing an element of something that we do with our together runs. I actually only managed to do 28 together runs this year, and we have our 100th as of my recording still to go. It may have gone by the time this comes out, but I've been struggling to, maybe it's pressure of, expectations. I want to make it special. I've been struggling to want to do it. I'm still recovering from this injury, which I'll talk about more. And my runs just feel like kind of precious time to me right now. But who knows if that'll change. So today we're going to break down into running, career, life. We're going to talk through each of these elements. And I'm going to share some elements with you about those highlights and also give you some space to answer for yourself. As you know, 2023, or maybe hopefully you know, was the year I published my second book, or first published book with a published author, alongside Zoe Rome. We launched Becoming a Sustainable Runner. I'm really proud of us with that, and I will share a bit more about the book and thoughts and reflections on that as we go. Before we get to that, we do have sponsors for this episode, especially as I took 2 weeks off and they were understanding with that. I do want to begin by just starting off telling you about one of the sponsors, one of the brands that allows me to keep doing this work. About a year ago, I honestly was tempted to quit this work and go work in a coffee shop. I'm not kidding. I did talk to my team about it, but brands that support me are the reason I've been able to keep this up. So I want to firstly talk to you about Tracksmith. Tracksmith has been with me since 2019, and I have been wearing the same items that they sent me back in 2019, and I'm still wearing them to this day. They work just as well. As I've told you many times, my favorite is the Brighton base layer. At Tracksmith, it is a seamless, lightweight long sleeve made from an engineered merino mesh. It has this beautiful ability to keep your core warm while allowing the heat to escape once you warm up. And then the arms are tight enough that they keep your arms warm even as your core warms even more. This is their best-selling item for a reason. It is the one item I recommend to people over and over again. And it is just my favorite. I have 4 of them. I love them. I've worn them in multiple marathons. I've worn them hundreds of times, the original one that I have. And they just come in so many beautiful colors. And so I encourage you, if you haven't already checked out the Brighton base layer, go to tracksmith.com/Tina. You can check out my favorite items there and consider getting yourself a Brighton base. If you have some money that you wanted to spend from the holidays, this is a great thing to invest in. As a friend of mine, if you are a new customer, you can use code TINANEW and get $15 off your order of $75 or more. If you are a previous customer, you can use code TINAGIVE. You'll make a donation on your behalf and you'll get free shipping with that. So go to tracksmith.com/Tina. All right. So let's talk about running while we're on the topic of running. My running year was definitely filled with ups and downs. I did manage to have some amazing moments, real high moments in my lifetime of running. But I also had many low moments. And if I reflect on the year as a whole, my running was something that definitely paid the price for the rest of my life kind of coming together. And that was tough. I had the worst injury I've ever had in my life. I'm still dealing with it. I don't know if I don't know if I will come out the other side. So to give you a bit of background, I developed, how can I say this? I think I'm going to backtrack and go just chronologically. I think that makes the most sense. So I did run. London is the first race that really sticks out in my mind, the first real moment in the running world that stands out. And I ran the London Marathon. It was pure joy. I just had fun. I ran with Ezra, my friend Ezra, and we just celebrated. We talked, we waved, we high-fived. It was just a pure celebration race. I absolutely loved it. Although actually it was Boston first. Boston was before that. But anyway, we're going to go with London. I celebrated, and then I kind of kicked it in the last 6 miles, ended up running a 3:10, which I was very happy with considering the amount of training I've done and just the joy that I had in that race. Also did Boston the week before. I made it to mile 21. I ran 13 miles with Lindsay as a guide. She's a visually impaired runner, visually impaired Paralympian. Ran with her to the halfway, waited for my friend Kaylee Williamson, who you probably have heard of, for later on races. And we're going to talk about that one in a minute. And Kaylee made it to mile 21. Let's just say Kaylee was not set up for success, and that was hard to take. And there is, I hope, work being done. I guess I will find out in 2024 what the work that has been done is, but it was quite frustrating. I really wanted her to succeed, but she wasn't set up for it. And there was a lot of factors at play. It was challenging. It was really emotionally challenging and mentally challenging to be with someone struggling that much. But also a cool experience. I'm very happy and thankful for my friend Harry Matheson for really being there for me that day. Went on to do London less than a week later. Loved it. Ran 29 miles the day of London, preparing for my 50-mile ultra, which was in May. Had a life event, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that potentially took Bryce away from me. But I decided, thanks to some friends encouraging me to go ahead and do the Bryce Canyon 50-mile. One of my closest friends, Ryan Montgomery, paced me and crewed me, and it ended up being an incredible day. I finished, I think, 4th overall. Oh, no, it was 3rd overall, first female, and 4th fastest female time of all time on that course. I felt great. I felt strong. It reminded me of that cross-country self in me that I had long forgotten. The 15-year-old in me who loved those tough cross-country courses was brought out on that day. I did have some stomach upsets. I ate beans the day before the race, and I don't know what I was thinking. I also had a caffeinated gel way too early and very close to having coffee by accident, the gel. And I think that messed up my stomach a bit, but it didn't bother me until right till the end. I just had to keep stopping to go to the bathroom. I think I went pooped 9 times during that 50-mile race, which, by the way, a 50-mile race is 9 hours and 20 minutes. So it's not like it was, once an hour isn't bad, but still it was not ideal. And, you don't want to keep stopping in that way. But regardless, it went really well. And for the first time since I quit elite running in 2017, I wanted to train. And Ryan, being the professional here, Ryan Montgomery, encouraged me he said, let's just get up to 70 miles a week and see what you can do. 70 miles a week in my head sounded very easy. I used to do 95. So if I can do that, I can do 70, surely. But 70 with 2 kids is not quite as simple. 70 when you're trying to launch a book is not quite as simple. And from the race, that evening after the race, the next morning, or that evening, I had a real throbbing pain on the side of my heel. It was the most painful part other than my toenail. My toenail and that spot were very painful. As soon as I finished, the next morning, the toenail had kind of calmed down, although it did fall off eventually. But that pain on the side of my foot really hurt. Otherwise, I wasn't sore. I felt amazing. That pain ended up being the beginning of insertional Achilles tendonitis, aka, or also with a Haglund's deformity. A Haglund's deformity is a nasty injury, let me just tell you. I have really struggled with this, not only just in not knowing what to do and really having to back off in a way I haven't ever, but also almost everyone I speak to who has had this injury has ended up with surgery. And this is not a small surgery either. We're talking detach your Achilles tendon, shave the bone down, which is what Haglund's deformity is, or Haglund's syndrome, where you basically get some bone growth out the side of your heel. Shave the bone down, reattach the Achilles. Technically, you need like 6 to 8 weeks off, but from what I've heard, it is a year minimum. A year minimum before you feel like properly running again. Really, really rough surgery. And it felt like everyone, it still does, ends up there. Kind of either a point where they can't run anymore and it's so painful they can't walk, or they reach a point where they're like, I can't take this anymore, just give me the surgery. And so that's been really weighing on my mind. However, we tried to keep going through it, but then after pacing and crewing my friend Brian Reynolds through Leadville, I just decided I needed to back off and do something. And so we did. We took the next 3 months where I barely ran. I think I ran 4 miles every other day for a few weeks, 6 miles every other day for a few weeks. And that was hard. I have not done that little of training for that consistent of time, probably since I was 15. And as I said, it was the first time I really actually wanted to train, so that was frustrating. I handled it mentally pretty good because I had other things to focus on. But as I'm building back up now, I'm still having to be very careful. And there is that nagging thought in the back of my mind of like, am I just prolonging the inevitable? Is it better to go get the surgery? So that injury, the running side of it was tough. I did get to have some really cool opportunities later in the year and the whole way through the year. You probably heard about running with Kaylee Williamson and Sandy Williamson in the New York City Marathon, leading to us going on the Today Show. An incredible opportunity to run with her. I'm so proud of her. Loved seeing her get celebrated, and so surreal that video being viewed like 50 million times. So I was thankful to have 2 opportunities to be there with Kaylee, also to run as a support runner for my friend Brian Reynolds, who is a double amputee, first double amputee attempting Leadville, and first double amputee to run 50 miles, which was really cool. I got to go over Hope's Pass with him, which is the most scenic and toughest part of the course. I also got to crew. I mentioned Ryan Montgomery earlier. I got to crew him in Javelina 100. the 100-mile. I was originally going to do the Javelina 100K, but had this injury, couldn't do it, crewed him instead. However, I'm actually really relieved I didn't do that race. It would not have been a good race for me. There was absolutely zero coverage from the sun, shade from the sun. And I can't even imagine being out there for he was out there 13 hours. Probably for me, minimum would have been 8 hours. 8 hours to 13 hours or longer without any sun cover, shade from the sun. So I was glad to be crewing. I did jump in a 1-mile race. I also ran as a pacer for some of the Twilight Trials of Miles races, which was really fun. And other than that, what comes to mind is missed opportunities, having to say no to things, missing thousands of miles or hundreds of miles minimum, thousands of miles potentially, or 1,000 miles potentially because of this injury. Not getting to run on the trails for 3 months was really hard, and I'm still not quite where I want to be, even though I hope I will be. I went to my sports rehab doctor, Dr. Brennan, dozens of times, which I didn't want to. Also did my first pull-up, which I was really proud of, like a full pull-up. So running wasn't ideal. It was a challenge, but I did the best I could, and that's all we can really ask for. I want to take a moment to check in with another of our sponsors today, and that would be AG1. So if you're a long-time listener, you know I've been drinking AG1 for about 5 years now. When I started drinking it daily, I loved that I could wake up in the morning, have this all-in-one scoop that had 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients. And I knew that no matter what my food intake brought, I knew I was taking care of myself. And especially as we go into this January time of the year where sickness is all around and we are trying to get back in the rhythm of things, this is a good time to take care of your health. And AG1 is a foundational nutritional supplement that supports your body's universal needs, like gut optimization, stress management, immune support, all things we need right now. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, and they are continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. Not only did I replace my multivitamin and all kinds of other things I was taking with AG1, but I love that every scoop also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes, which takes care of my body in other ways. And I love that with my code, you, my friends, can get the one thing that is missing, which is a vitamin D3 K2 mix for free, 1 year's supply for free. And that is another piece that we need throughout the winter. So if you want to take ownership of your health, and it starts with AG1, try AG1 and get a free 1 year supply of that vitamin D3 K2. You can get 5 free travel packs with that, and go to drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. Go check it out. So before we go any further, I want to take a minute to just do something that we do within our Together Runs, and that is a census check-in. We do this usually outside when we're connecting with nature, but I want to do it right now, regardless of whether you're running, whether you're inside. I just want you to take a moment to do these few things. You ready? So go ahead and take a deep breath, as deep as you can if you're running. If you're running, it's okay if your breath was half that. Let's do one more. What do you smell? For me, I smell familiar. What do you taste? I taste a little bit of honey. Next, we're going to go on to hearing. We're going to take about 30 seconds to just be in our ears, present in our ears. And I want you to just listen. What is it that you hear? In your world or in mine, wherever you want it to be. Let's just listen. few more seconds. Okay. Hopefully you notice some things you wouldn't typically pay attention to. Next, I want you to do your sense of touch, tactile, feel. What is it? How is your body engaging with the world around you? What do you feel? And finally, your sight, vision. Take 30 to 40 seconds here to just take in your surroundings. Imagine you're taking a photograph of everything around you. This is the last time you're going to see it. I want you to find some detailed element around you and really take it in as if you were about to draw it from memory. Let's go ahead and take in your sight, your vision now. Life with children. Try and get back to concentration. Final few seconds. All right, friends. Thank you so much for checking in with yourself. Let's get back to it. Okay, so let's talk about, let's go into life next. Some of the big things that stood out were Bailey started kindergarten. My girls are definitely growing up. I missed a lot of time with them this year, and I think I missed more than I'm comfortable with in terms of their growth, and obviously time with Steve too. And so I want to find a way to not be away as much next year. And of course, I'll be honest, the amount I traveled for the book and for races is not what I want to be doing environmentally either. Beyond that, the other thing that sticks in my head was losing my dear friend, Patrick. And while Patrick, to most people who live around me, was this joyful, just kind, generous, sweet man who picked up our trash, to me, he was so much more. And we got really close over the last few years. He was quite a bit older than me. He was 59. But we just were very close. We talked every week, multiple times a week. And then he went to have rotator cuff surgery and died 6 weeks later. 6 weeks? And less than a month after his daughter died. His daughter was murdered in a domestic violence incident. So he was in grieving, undergoing recovery from rotator cuff and what's the other piece? Rotator cuff and bicep surgery, and he died very quickly. I spoke to him a few days before he passed, and he was fine. We were talking about getting lunch a few days after he passed, and he just was gone all of a sudden, and it really punched me in the gut. And so I really miss my friend. I'm still struggling with the grieving from that. I actually got a tattoo recently with a P and a heart just to remind myself to live the way that he lives. I thought long and hard about that decision. I don't have any other tattoos, but I want to remember this friend. And not so much it's not like every person that passes away in my life I want to do this for, but he touched my life in a way and had a way of living that was just unlike anyone I've ever known. He truly was one in a million. And I want to remember that about him. So those are some life things that really stood out. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Not really. Okay, so I want to go on to work, which is where things really exploded. At the beginning of the year, we launched our REDS recovery resource, which involved 50 videos for free on YouTube. And those videos were very generic, like, what is REDS? I eat a lot, surely I don't have that. It was really speaking to everyone, all of you, to show you that even if you think you don't have a problem with eating enough. And actually, I've had a conversation with a lot of friends lately that have been like, I eat so much. And I'm like, well, have you lost your period? Yes. Do you have low testosterone? Yes. Those two things are obviously giant red flags. But if you're cold all the time, or your extremities get cold really easily, if you have a lot of digestive issues, if you are struggling with insomnia, and if your heart rate is too low, those are all symptoms of REDS. And so I encourage you, if you haven't already checked them out, there'll be links in the show notes, to go over there and check out that REDS recovery resource. There is that on YouTube. And then I also made the other piece free, which is the recovery resource itself for people who recognize they do have it. You can sign up for free. There'll be a link in the show notes. We originally did make it a price, but just didn't feel right doing it for a cost, knowing that that was a barrier to entry for people who are just genuinely trying to heal. And again, AG1, I'm so appreciative of them for stepping in to support me with that, with some financial support. So that's another great thing they did, as well as treating me like a princess when I was in New York and actually really taking care of me in a way I needed. Oh, that was the other. Oh, did I? I did share about New York, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. Beyond that, sustainability work was the focus. Zoe and I published Becoming a Sustainable Runner, as I mentioned. We were so proud of what we made. And I feel like the book tour, the book launch was a big success. We didn't make a New York Times bestseller, but I didn't expect to. And it was really just a great opportunity to really get sustainability front and center. I've definitely seen over the course of a year these conversations happening more and more. And I love that in the running space it's coming up more. And Zoe gave us the kind of how-to, or Zoe and I worked on to give you the how-to of how to be sustainable in terms of your own running, your individual relationship to yourself, your goals, self-acceptance, kind of working on that internal stuff, and also not being perfect. That's like a key thing I've realized for myself throughout this year, is where I really want to speak to you, is showing you that you don't have to be perfect at anything, and none of us are. Also to that community piece, that was the middle third of the book, of how to level up your running, how to be a mentor, how to give back, how to be a part of something greater than yourself. And people really enjoyed that section too. And then, of course, thirdly, it is the environmental piece of things you can do, ways you can make more conscious choices and speak up in your own way without it being overwhelming. Again, we're not shooting for perfection. We chose the word becoming for a reason, because we are not at the end and we don't expect you to be. Beyond the book, I worked a lot of the leaders in the running space races to really take in their sustainability initiatives, help support them with getting the word out about their sustainability initiatives, because we need participant buy-in. I need you to be at these races and to participate and to notice and to put the banana peel in the compost and the plastic bottle in the recycling. Put things, be thoughtful, even in your dazed state post-race, to just be doing these things. And these races have made it as easy as possible for you. And I loved being a part of getting the word out for them. But I think it has become clear for me that my role is to really bring this conversation forward and get more people to buy in. So thank you to those of you who have shared the videos, who have talked about it, who have supported me along the way. I was very fortunate to work at the Shamrock Shuffle, the Peachtree Road Race, the Bronx 10 Mile, the Chicago Marathon, the Toronto Waterfront Marathon, the New York Marathon, and California International Marathon. such huge opportunities, and I'm extremely grateful for them for bringing me in that way. Before I go any further, I want to just give a shout out to our third and final sponsor of the day. This will be the last ad I give for them. And I want to encourage you, if you have not gone to get your order, go do it now. And that is for Allbirds. And my friends, I have really loved working with Allbirds these past few years. I wear their shoes all day, every day. You will rarely find me in a pair of shoes that is not Allbirds. And they've just been a wonderful company to work with, very supportive. And of course, sustainability is at their very core. I want to end this by, I could tell you about any of their shoes. I love all of them. But I want to talk today about my all-time favorite, which is the Women's Tree Dasher. It's very comfortable. There's a wool edition and a non-wool, I suppose, edition. They have this lightly padded heel. It is very comfortable. I've worn it for 13-hour days at expos. My feet feel great at the end of the day. It is an active shoe. You can technically run up to like a 10K in it, but I just love it day to day. They have all kinds of gorgeous colors. It is just a great day-to-day shoe. I've bought so many of these for loved ones because that really is my favorite shoe. So I encourage you to check out the Tree Dasher 2. If you go to the link in the show notes and you add a pair of socks to your cart, and again, I don't know how long this code's going to last, a few more days, add a pair of socks to your cart. You can get those for free with your order. I encourage you to check out the Tree Dasher. I also love the loungers, the runners, and the Flyer, their running shoe. I do personally love it. I did run in it. I've run many marathons in it. I prefer the original to the second model. I'll be honest with that. But they've been a great company, and I'm just so appreciative for all they've done. Okay, let's get back to it. Speaking, I did a lot of speaking events at expos and summits. I did book events at Leadville, St. Louis, Boston, Chicago, Toronto, New York, Austin, and Sacramento. I was so fortunate to have amazing opportunities to get to meet many of you, to sign your books, to just be a part of something. I hosted 3 plugging events, one of which in Atlanta, one person showed up for, which was an ego hit at minimum, but also a reminder of how much work I have to do. Boston and New York were not as small as that. I also had an amazing opportunity to be elected into the board of directors at Running USA. And I've just realized I haven't given you any opportunities to reflect on your own self. So I need to do that right now. So I'm going to have us jump back. This is running for real after all. Have us jump back to running journey. I want you to take a few minutes now to think about. A highlight is something that you've probably been asked a lot about, as is a low moment. But I want you to think about a surprising moment in your running journey. What is something or a moment in running that you maybe had expectations for a tough day and it didn't end up being that, or something ended up being more joyful than you thought it was going to be. You ran faster than you thought it was going to be, or thought you would. So within your own running, let's go back and reflect upon that now. So I'm going to pause, I'm going to be quiet, and you can answer that question. Going to give you a few more seconds. Just finish off that memory. Okay. Next, I want you to think about where your run was, where you felt the most free. Maybe it's the same moment. But where did you feel just in flow, free of expectations, of you just felt like you were in a rhythm? Go ahead and think about that for 2023. Few more seconds. Okay. And finally, I want you to think about something that you didn't achieve or manage in 2023 that going into your 2024, as this is running, going into your 2024, you would like to be a focus. So let's go ahead and answer that now. Okay, friends, thank you for answering those questions. Sorry they were thrown in there together. I just got in a rhythm of sharing and missed my reflective questions. So I mentioned to you about the board of directors. Honored to be on the Running USA board of directors. Also walked in a climate march with 70,000 people in New York. That was a pretty amazing moment. And another big thing, I guess this was a surprise for me that I didn't think was going to be a thing going into 2023, but it's kind of become my thing, is I had my friend Natalia Trevino, who I met through Allbirds, make me a skirt out of trash. I wore it in the Bronx 10 mile and wrote climate stats all over my arms, thanks to Andy and Ruby. And I wore it again in New York for the marathon. Skirt easily made it through the 26 miles of the marathon. And I think it's kind of becoming my thing. So I think it might be joining me for many more races in the future. But that was something that I was really proud to do, to have a message attached to it without having to say anything, and to stimulate conversation and to get some momentum going. I was fortunate to be featured by NBC, and I can put a link to that in the show notes, about the skirt and about running New York in the skirt, what it meant and what it represented. It was a really cool video feature that I was proud of them for doing. Also was on NBC Sacramento before the CIM, California International Marathon, which was pretty cool. So having those two opportunities along with the Today Show, it was a big year for me in terms of media-wise. Another thing I want to share, this is probably the final big thing I'll share actually, is in 2025, San Diego is hosting the World Road Running Championships, which is a 1 mile, a 5K, and a half marathon. And I was so appreciative to be given the role of sustainability lead for that bid, which became we won the bid. And San Diego is hosting that. I would love to have as many members of our community do that as possible. So note that down in your calendars. San Diego 2025. While I said it is a world championship, they are anticipating 50,000 people across those three events participating in what they call a people's race. And we intend on making this the greenest race ever. And so I'm working really hard and outreaching as many geniuses in the space as I can to make this a radical race in terms of sustainability. And I would love to have your support. So I hope you can document that race down. On that note, I want to take a moment to think for you with 2024, what is something you would really like to, I don't want to say achieve, that puts too much focus on performance, but what is something that you'd really love to do or be a part of or get to experience in 2024? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Few more seconds. Okay, friends, thank you for answering that. In addition to all of that, we released 50 podcast episodes. We had 28 together runs and 28 for real episodes. For real episodes were episodes I did with Sarah Crouch, little mini episodes of 10 to 15 minutes, silly questions. So if you're looking for something fun to listen to over the coming days, go ahead and listen to those. Really random questions, very off topic, but just fun between two friends. So it's been a big year for me. I'm really proud of the work I've done. I've definitely worked too hard, which is why I took the last 2 weeks off podcasting and why I stepped away from work, deleted my social media for 2 weeks, because I really needed a rest. And it's hard to take a rest. So I had to be a bit forceful with myself. And I wanted to make the most of time in England with my family. And so I felt proud to do that piece too. While I've done a lot of achieving and accomplishing, I also know how hard it is for myself to take time off. So friends, I want to wrap up by just saying how appreciative of you I am. You can find links to everything I talked about today in the show notes at runningforreal.com/episode 381, along with the sponsors, along with all those things I've mentioned along the way. But friends, without you, I couldn't have done this. The reason these races, the reason these brands, the reason these opportunities have come up is because you trust me, because you share about using the resources that I make, like the sustainability guides, the sustainability runner guides in various cities. We've got New York, Chicago, Sacramento, Boston. Those guides, by you downloading that tells me you're listening. By sharing social media, that helps show that my message is getting through. You're helping other runners to see it. And I just want to say I'm so appreciative of you. You've been with me this whole journey and this absolute transformation I've gone through to get to this moment. And in 2023, it was so obvious how far I've come from when I started this business in 2023. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you. I really, really love hearing from you, especially when you send me your together runs. So go ahead and keep doing those. Thank you for being a part of my world. I hope if we didn't get to meet this year or to this point, we get to meet sometime in the future. And I hope you have an amazing few days. I will see you next Friday. And take care of yourselves. You matter. Bye, friends.